Here we are, another edition of What Barrie's Talking About from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakeley. On this week's program, back to school this week. An exciting time for some, frightening for others. In terms of bullying, we get advice to help you identify if it's happening to your child and how to deal with it. Music missing from a lot of school programs these days, caught up in budget cuts, a big loss for many reasons, but a local maestro is helping to fill the void. Next week marks a new era in garbage collection in Barrie, finally getting to use those rolling bins that have been rolled out to homes over the summer. We've talked about it before. We get a refresher from Barrie's lead trash talker, and Bradford West Gwillimbury is getting ready to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the Holland Marsh in a unique way. We get the conversation started after this. Back to class this week. Kids excited to meet up with old friends, make some new friends. Good times for most, frightening for some who have been bullied in the past. Dr. Tony Volk, professor of child and youth studies at Brock University in St. Catharines, telling Barrie 360's Ian Maclennan why it's important to stop bullying early and how to go about it.
Let's begin with defining the schoolyard bully or the online bully. What type of person are we talking about?
Well, the first thing to really bear in mind is that bullying is kind of aggression, and it's really separated from other kinds of aggression by having a power imbalance. So whoever is being the bully has some kind of power that makes it really difficult for the victim to fight back. They're equal, that's aggression, but it's not bullying. And so we tend to find that bullies tend to be kids who have power, so they tend to be wealthier, they tend to be more popular, more attractive, and they have a selfish motivation that views themselves as deserving of things at the expense of others.
And kids going back to school, for some it's exciting, for others it may be a repeat or worry of what they've experienced last school year or the one previous. You talk about dealing with the situation early. How do you deal with it early if, say, you're a parent, you don't know it's going on, or the person being bullied isn't sure what avenue to take to end this?
Well, the first thing is to recognize that, as I said, bullying is about a power imbalance. So it's very difficult for the child to resolve it themselves. And there's often the idea of fighting back, but if it's verbal bullying, if it's bullying by a group who's excluding you, those aren't things that you can even consider fighting back. Never mind that fighting back can also make the problem worse. So one of the things that needs to be done is bring in outside people to change the power imbalance. And that could be the peers, if it's a peer intervention, or more commonly, it's bring in adults who can back up the victim, so to speak, and help them overcome this power imbalance.
In a report done by the Raising Canada report, 25% of students said they feel supported by teachers at school. When it comes to bullying, not that teachers aren't trying to do something. Are school boards addressing this issue? Are they taking it seriously? Or what sort of methods maybe did you find that school boards are doing to clamp down?
I think it varies on the school board. I think all have some level of interest in preventing bullying. The biggest difference is how many resources they have and how many of them they're able to allocate towards preventing bullying. Because the kids who bully, we can further break it down into two groups. And the common stereotype of the bully is being low in self-esteem, having bad social skills. That's just kids who are bullies and victims at the same time. But the majority of bullying is being done by what we call pure bullies, these kids who aren't bullied by others, the captain of the football team, the head cheerleader. And they're very sophisticated in how they bully. So they're very hard to catch. They have good excuses for their behavior. They make friends with the teachers. So if you're not investing a lot of resources into tracking and monitoring bullying, then you're going to likely have these kids, in a sense, fool you and get away with the bullying. And that's probably one of the reasons why we're seeing the school violence and bullying increases, because schools don't have the resources to adequately monitor these problems.
Is there a school board that you could name, or at least give an example that is doing something the right way, or seems to be a bit of a success?
Well, the school board that we work with here in Niagara, the Niagara Catholic District School Board, they work with a lot of researchers, and we're able to do a lot of that monitoring on their behalf. And of course, we don't, for confidentiality reasons, single out individual cases, but we can let them know about overall trends in each of their schools. And that school board has shown a flat level of bullying over the same time period that other boards have seen an increase. So that's an example of how you can reduce bullying. But of course, not every school board has access to a university team of researchers. Other boards that seem to be successful have devoted more resources to find other ways of measuring and combating bullying. And so it's not that the other boards who are seeing an increase don't care about the issue. It's that they're not either able or willing to make it a priority with the resources that they have.
Back in the day, you could escape your bully by going home and deal with it the next morning or when you might encounter that individual again. How has online technology magnified bullying?
Yeah, it's really exactly as you said, that it's made it a 24-hour-a-day problem, and that children can't go home and escape this. You can say, well, just don't read, what that's being posted, but then you're essentially saying isolate yourself from the peer group. Kids today, for better or for worse, have grown up using information technology to communicate with each other. And so, 30, 40 years ago, they'd be on the phone all day. Now they're online and they're messaging with each other. And if you're excluded from that, that's a problem in and of itself. But especially if your only other option is to either isolate yourself or be faced with abuse, that's a very difficult thing for children to have to deal with, especially since they can be seeing that minutes before they fall asleep, which, of course, will disrupt their sleep, which has all kinds of ongoing effects.
What should a guardian or parent look for if their child is being bullied? Are there any sort of warning signs?
Yeah, the warning signs are varied, but some of the big ones that you really want to look for is that your child has a change in the pattern of their behavior or their motivation, and that they're happy in some contexts, but when it comes to going to school, they either are no longer happy or they haven't been happy for some time. Now, by not being happy, I mean they are seriously upset about going to school. Most kids aren't crazy about having to go to school, but we're talking kids who are having stomach pains, headaches, difficulty eating. Those physical manifestations of stress are a very strong clue that something is wrong with your child's relationship with their school.
Don't want to downplay, but I've heard where some schools or maybe not a teacher, but even a parent might say, oh, well, that's not really bullying. They were just, teasing you. How do you find that? I mean, it doesn't always have to be violence to be bullying, does it? Can it just be verbal? I'm just trying to get a picture here because we don't want to overplay it, but at the same time don't want to downplay it.
No, absolutely. Verbal bullying can be as devastating as physical bullying. One example I like to use about how you can't always punch your way out of the situation is former actor and bodybuilder Lou Ferrigno, who's 6'4" and a monster who could play the Hulk with just a bit of green paint. He was bullied relentlessly despite his massive size because he has a hearing aid and therefore a speech impediment. And so that caused him self-esteem issues for decades into his adulthood. And so the analogy that I like to use is that conflict and stress is like exercise. A little bit of it is good. It can strengthen you. But if you have too much physical stress, you break a bone, and even though that bone will heal, it will never be as strong as it was before. And the same thing is true for bullying. Small amount of conflict between peers, kids can handle that. But when you start going to the extremes that bullying can lead to, you lead to stress that kids can't cope with, and it can cause permanent mental health issues. I guess
finally, you talk about, targeting bullying early in dealing with, both parents, the child, the bullier. I guess it would take different forms depending on the age of the person, or does that person even know they're being a bully? I'm talking, from going from kindergarten to grade 6 up to grade 12. What is there a specific age?
Yeah, we find that bullying tends to peak around the ages of 13 to 14. And so we've seen it, and we have colleagues who measure it in preschools and in kindergarten. So we do see kids abusing the power and popularity that they have. And that continues all the way into high school, and of course, for some people beyond that. But a real peak is those early adolescent years. And we think that's because there's a new level of competition once dating enters the picture. And now you're not just competing to who's the best athlete or who's best in class, but you're competing for the attention of the opposite sex or same sex, as it might be. And that element can become competitive to the point that it's driving bullying behavior. And unfortunately, in some cases, it works, that the bully is able to intimidate rivals and impress others with their displays of power.
And not to be sexist, but is it more prominent bullying amongst young males, or are females just as active in that, so to speak?
So we find that when it comes to physical bullying, so actually hitting somebody else, boys are about 2 to 3 times more likely to engage in that behavior than girls. But for all other kinds of bullying, the sexes are basically equal, and that's including verbal bullying, cyberbullying, and relational bullying, where you actively exclude somebody and isolate them. In fact, girls are a couple percentage points higher in that behavior. So this is something that certainly isn't only a problem for boys.
Finally, this will be it, but I want to know when a parent, you might hear say to a kid, or maybe even the advice is, I don't know if a teacher would say it, but stand up for yourself.
Yes, that's a common, it's the most common recommendation for bullying. And bullies are looking for victims who are easy to dominate. So if you make yourself hard to dominate, that is the single biggest thing you can do to stop bullying. The reason we don't recommend it is because it is equally likely to be the single biggest thing that makes the bullying worse. And so if you try and prevent the bully from engaging with you, the bully can fight back. And we've seen this dramatically in some adult circles where somebody tries to stand up to, say, a political bully, and the bully just turns on them and uses their power to lash out even further at the victim. And so it's not a situation where you can always successfully fight back. And then there are situations where fighting back per se doesn't work. So what do you do if you're a boy and a group of girls are excluding you from all the social events? Do you beat them up? I mean, that's not an effective way of dealing with that issue. So beside, the challenges of getting in trouble for fighting, it's not necessarily an effective tactic. It works in some cases, but in other cases it can make it much worse.
Dr. Tony Volk is a professor of child and youth studies at Brock University. You've been staring at them for most of the summer, the new trash and green bins the city of Barrie has been delivering to homes. You actually get to use them starting next week. So we put a call out to Stephanie Mack, Associate Director of Waste Management for the city, to come back in to give us a refresher about the reason for the change and how to make it work for you. Here again is our Ian Maclennan.
So the city of Barrie is moving to a cart collection starting on September the 8th. It's change, and some people are probably asking why.
We actually are looking forward to this change, which will begin on Monday. That's true. We are really looking to a more modern waste collection system. We aren't the first city to move to automated cart collection. This is actually becoming a standard across the industry. And the why is really important. So not only for our residents are they easy to roll and they keep waste neat and tidy, it actually is a change in the waste sector to protect drivers. The lifting of garbage, it's a really tough job. So this allows, even an expanded workforce for the waste collection companies, where the driver can sit safely within the truck and all of the work is done by that automated arm.
Now, in terms of resources, fewer resources too with this new system?
We will still have the same number of trucks out there. Residents will see no change to their curbside collection schedule. So that's a good key message. If you have, a Tuesday collection schedule, it will remain the same. But really, the message on this is that the driver can sit tucked in safely in that truck and, like I said, allow that arm to do the work. But we will still have the same number of trucks out there.
Now, it's for residential, it's garbage and organics. Why not blue gray box?
Oh, that's a great question. And we are hearing that, especially since our neighbors in the county of Simcoe actually utilize recycling carts. So our program, the city manages garbage and organics, and property owners should have their garbage and organics carts ready to go. When it comes to recycling, it is actually a provincial organization called Circular Materials that looks after our recycling program in the city, and they make all of the decisions. So it's a big story, but the province is actually shifting. So not just the city of Barrie, we are getting ready for a provincial change starting January 1st, 2026 for recycling. And Circular Materials will make all decisions regarding how recycling is collected. So whether that be in boxes or whether that be in carts. So for now, here in the city, they are mandating that recycling will be collected in the boxes, so no change, and it will stay as two streams. So that means that containers will go in one box and paper will go in the other.
Okay, now with the organics bin, man, trying to get that lock sometimes is a bit of a challenge. I know in the city of Barrie there is some advice that if you are struggling a bit, what can you tell people who find it a bit frustrating?
Yeah, so to back it up, the garbage cart does not have a lock. So only the organics cart has a lock, and we get the question, why is that? Why doesn't the garbage cart have a lock? And that is because we want to see all the food waste, anything that's going to be attractive to wildlife in that organics cart. So but on the lock, it does take a little bit of maybe some use to get it to perform well. So it needs to be kind of not hit hard, but to drop it down, it works through gravity, and then turn that handle to the down position. If the locking mechanism. So we've delivered a significant number of carts to around 50,000 properties. If you got one where you think it is broken, it is not performing, just give us a call at Service Barrie, and we'll have our contractor come out and have a look. But for the most part, it would just be using it, getting it worked in to get that lock to work. On the lock, something that's interesting is, does it need to be unlocked when it's set out at the curb for collection? And the answer is no, that when the truck actually tips that cart, it is going to release the lock by gravity. And so it doesn't actually matter when you set it out to the curb if you have it locked or if you have it open.
Some people, too, look at it and go, well, maybe it's too big for my family, the cart size. I know on the City of Barrie website, again, it encourages, at least for the first few weeks, to get used to it and see, play around with it, lack of a better word. What is the advice from the city if somebody says, I need something smaller? Okay,
so we are working to exchange a number of carts where we got requests up to the end of August. So if you are waiting, we're going to get to you. We're dealing with a significant number of requests. So if I can get that message out there, just a little request for patience. We hear you. We've gotten, your calls, your emails in order to make those arrangements for exchanges. So, but what we are asking that as we move into this next phase, which is really, the start of the program, that you try it out. I think, for a lot of families, they're going to find that although that cart, the garbage cart, seems big, perhaps, that they're going to find that it will get you through weekends, occasions, holidays where you might have a little more garbage. We actually, although we're going to permit extra garbage bags, if they're tagged to sit alongside the carts, we really do want to see all garbage in the cart, really getting the maximum benefit of that automated collection. So although 1 week you might have a little bit less garbage, there might be, as we approach, holidays into the fall where you have a bit more, and that size of cart will be better for your family. So try it out for a little bit. We're pleased to take requests for exchanges for the smaller 120-liter garbage cart through the fall. We are waiving the $50 fee just as everybody gets adjusted. But try it out and see if it works for your family.
Now, the County of Simcoe has moved to the larger carts too, and some of the concerns expressed by people then, or even some of the politicians, well, I have a long driveway, or how am I going to get this bin through the snow, or accessibility issues. So what message would you tell people that, feel that, we get a good dumping of snow, or it's going to be a challenge?
Okay, so, I don't really want to think about snow right now, but we'll talk a little bit about it. We know it is inevitable that it will come. So I guess the first message on this is we've seen these carts perform really well in the county and other municipalities, City of Guelph, Toronto, Region of Peel. So we do know that they perform in the winter conditions. Something that I did notice this winter, we had a lot of snow, is seeing actually improper set-outs with the manual collection. By that, I mean that I saw garbage bags on top of snowbanks, green bins on top of snowbanks, blue bins. That was never permitted. So the cart should be no change. And what we ask is that we're going to all have to get used to clearing a pad, a flat space to the side of the driveway or on your driveway for those carts as we address snow. As we get to the winter, we are going to have, some tips and some guidance on how to set those carts out. But it would really be just ensuring that there is space on your driveway when you clear your snow to set out your garbage.
Yeah, and this winter was an anomaly with the ice storm and other things that it was challenging sometimes to get into a driveway. Your driveway was narrowed because of the amount of snow. And to be fair, when I looked at the City of Barrie website trying to explain it, it was like, what happened to the good old days where I just put out the garbage? There's 2 feet this and 2 feet that, and not every day is going to be a wintry day, but keep it close to the bank of the snow. But obviously you can't have it out too far from the road either, right?
Yeah, so the 2 feet rule is actually a really important key message. And so really, essentially, you have to remember that the carts need space around them. So whether that is space between parked cars, it's another cart. So if you're setting out your garbage cart, your organics cart, they need that space. They need space between yard waste so that there is room for that automated arm to come down from the truck and it hugs the cart essentially and tips it into the truck. So making sure that there is room for that arm to safely grab the cart, tip it into the truck and set it down. So really essentially the message is no matter what it is. So again, if it's a car, a snowbank, another material type, your blue boxes, the carts do need space.
Also been some tinkering with the bylaw too, concern that, I don't have room in my garage. You might have 2 cars. Garages can get cramped. What has been done to accommodate if I want to keep my containers in the backyard or side of the house?
Okay, storage is another great question. We get that all the time, and I always like to think of it like this. Waste, whether it's garbage or divertible materials, organics, recycling, do need to be stored somewhere. So whether they're in carts or whether it's a garbage bag can, that we always need space at our homes to properly store our waste. We have amended our bylaw, our yard maintenance bylaw, to permit the carts, if it's needed, to be stored at front. So really a key message on this is let's have tidy, space for our carts. That's the one thing I actually really like about the carts, is that they're going to contain material neat and tidy. They're going to look great when they're set out. We're going to have nice, neat set outs. Everybody's going to, look the same, uniform down our streets. I'm looking forward to seeing that next week. But really to look for a spot, whether it's in your garage, whether it's tucked to the side of your house where you can neatly store your waste. And a reminder that this would exclude, a couch or large items. So this really is just to permit the carts to be stored somewhere on the property.
I was impressed by the fact that you've got it down to where obviously you encourage people to write their address, et cetera, on that white space. It is City of Barrie. There's City of Barrie carts, but there's a radio frequency too. So this is very intricate that this system can be tracked that well.
Yeah, so for us, that's a great point. RFID. So we've heard, we have some information on our website. What does that mean? What are we going to use it for? And for us, it just allows us to essentially tie the set of cards to the property. And the cards actually stay with the property. So if you move, you do not have to load them up and move them to your new place. That they are the property of the city, and they are linked to that particular address. It will help us to know if they've been moved around. And what that identification system does is just to give us a little more knowledge into like data management and the tracking really of the system when it comes to where those cards are.
So not tracking whether Mr. and Mrs. Jones are doing their garbage organics properly or anything like that?
Yeah, I know that some municipalities, and that would be, far off into the future, that get information. So, for example, there are municipalities that where you would pay for your waste services like a utility, like a fee-for-service model. So they would use the information where, how many, did you get your garbage cart tipped, or did you get your organics cart tipped in order to charge back to the property? That's not the system we have here in the city. So we won't be using it for that type of, to get that type of information yet. But it will perhaps come in the future as, AI and other tools are used to better waste management systems.
Now, the businesses and institutions, too, are going to have an organics program now. So for the bottom line, is this more of a cost-effective way of delivering, waste management? And secondly, how will this help our landfill space too? Are there, what are the perks there possibly?
What's interesting, and part of the behind the scenes work of the waste team at the city is really bettering our waste system. So carts actually, whether they're business carts, residential carts, allow us to better understand, how much service we're actually applying to a property. Before, historically, the city actually collected waste by ton. So it didn't really matter, how much a property, there was waste limits, but we didn't have a really good sight line into per unit, per property servicing. So carts do that. We have some really robust information now on carts and how many are, for a business property, how many are sitting out there, what we pay. So I am pleased about that because ultimately, you're correct, we're going to start focusing on that landfill. And I know curbside collection always draws a lot of attention. It is what we, come to talk about a lot of times. But we are focusing now on the future of our system here at the city. The landfill will obviously be an important consideration as really the province struggles to look to the future and how we manage garbage here. For businesses, it has changed. The program is shifting to a per property servicing rather than by unit to really ensure that the tool that we're supplying for servicing really matches the property type.
Nothing goes 100% on the first day. This is a learning curve for everybody?
Yeah, and it's already started for us, for your city team. We are busy this week, making sure that everybody's ready. We've had lots of phone calls. I think what's always interesting about waste changes is that we can prepare. So we've started to talk about this. I think we're now into our second year of planning for this change. And no matter how much we talk about it and all the information that we get out there, that, until the change happens, we don't hear from residents. So we've heard lots of, good questions coming in this week, and we are prepared to sort those out. Again, asking for a little bit of patience through next week and through the change. And also, just if I could also say some patience with our drivers. So they're getting used to the new system. They're getting used to a new, a new way of collection. They're getting used to the automated arms. Collection might be slower next week, and as we move into the program, and just leave your carts out until 7 p.m. We'll get there. We're also getting ready to leave the landfill open a little bit later for staff just to receive those trucks. So.
And if people need more information, aside from the podcast here too, the City of Barrie's website has a great list of the tips and what to do as well.
Absolutely. We have a really robust page, barrie.ca/curbside collection changes, where there's everything you need to know, even from the number of carts that your property would be eligible for if you didn't register by March, to how to set them out. Another tool is to check your schedule. If I could just put a plug in for that, I know often we look down the street to see what carts our neighbors put out or what waste they're setting out. If you could just double check your address to make sure you've got your week right, your garbage week right, because again, there's no changes to your collection schedule, but that can all be found online.
So not only in Barrie is it elbows up, it's bins up.
You got it. We're looking forward to this. This is going to be a big change for us. And thanks to our residents, I can tell you it's looking really great out there. I see that the carts, were tucked away all summer, and we're getting ready to bring this out.
Stephanie Mack is Associate Director of Waste Management for the City of Barrie. Music programs used to be standard in schools across Ontario, not so much anymore. Meet Oliver Balabursky from Maestro Music Centre in Barrie. He's trying to fill that void, chatting up the importance of benefits of music education with Barrie 360's Julius Hearn.
For people who don't know you, maybe kind of describe your musical background, kind of your journey, to sum it up.
My personal musical background is I studied music back home in Macedonia, where my wife and we immigrated in Canada 20-something years ago. We both run the school, and we both have musical background. We finished Faculty of Music there. She finished singing, operatic singing, and I graduated in conducting, and that's where everything started. Of course, before that, we went to the elementary music school, then music high school, and those are type of schools that really don't exist on the Western world. Very specific, highly focused schools for music. And then we finished Faculty of Music and moved to Canada.
So through your education, and maybe even your wife's education, what are some key themes or maybe something in particular that kept you engaged throughout music that made you want to pursue it as a career?
Well, music is a very specific art that gives you ability to kind of get into a specific world of your own, not just emotional but spiritual too. It's something that when you consume, you feel completely fulfilled. At least we feel that, right? It's something that no other art does it in that way, in that specific way.
What have you noticed about the state of music education in schools, even in Canada, since you immigrated here?
Yeah, well, interestingly enough, it changed throughout the years. 20 years ago, there were some musical programs in high schools, and there are still some bands going on, but the music program is declining fast. Unfortunately, the governments or whoever is responsible for that, they're not investing enough in music education. They call it art, and in that everything is comprised. Visual art and music and drama and some musicals if they can afford it. Usually they can't. And usually people that are responsible for music education or music appreciation in the schools are people that are not strictly educated in music. And that also, it's burden on them. Because it's a pressure, it's a kind of a stress to do a subject that you're not professional in. So it's unfortunate, it's in declining, and I've heard that it's going to go even more down, which is really sad for us musicians.
I know Maestro Music, where you're affiliated with. Do you have a different approach? Kind of take us through what your guys' approach is to music education.
Well, we are trying to bring, my wife and I are actually trying to bring our Southeastern way of education for music, which is based in a serious approach of how to learn music through explaining the secret of music to the children, not just dry copy and paste, just play notes and learn the notes and just play the piece and go home. It's more about what this piece means and what the composer wanted to say in this, and through theory to learn the secrets of how that piece is written and the harmonies and the chords and everything like that. There are people that teach music through fun, and we do that too as part of our education, but it's not predominantly. It's the fun in a sense that makes music serious. It's very important because you appreciate music when you know the secrets of it, not just having fun in the sense that it's unserious or doesn't really appreciate the art of it.
What are some of the maybe instrumental or even ensemble specialties that you have provided?
We teach many instruments, and we are trying to enlarge that instrumentarium of type of lessons. So at the moment, we have piano, violin, viola, singing or voice, depending who is interested in what. We teach theoretical subjects such as the theory for each level, and harmony, polyphony, and all of those more serious. We have a trumpet teacher, we have guitar teachers. We are trying to broaden up our type of lessons so that more people can have education in those. What
would your message be to parents who are maybe on the fence of trying to maybe get their kids into music or into an arts education, and maybe what do you think is holding them back? What do you think is the biggest pull factor from your perspective?
I think that the knowledge of what is the benefit of doing music. I think that's the most important. The benefit of doing music is very significant for human brain. Scientifically, it's proven that creates focus. Creates ability to understand what responsibility is. Calmness brings the human part of human being, the humanity out, makes people better. Children are doing better in school when they do music because they learn how to focus, how to calm themselves down, understand what the responsibility when you have something to do, what is that, and structure their work. Because that's what you need when you do music. You have to structure your work. And all of that helps not just children. We have students from 3 years old, and the most mature student we have is 84. And adults, when they come for lessons, they do that for basically brain training. Like literally, like they're keeping their brain fresh. And children are doing it because some of them really love it. Some are trying to explore and see what's going on and what is music. Some of them, for the first time in their lives, see a piano or try to see notes or music, and it's a completely new world for them. Parents are aware of most of these things. Some of them struggle with time, right? To find time to bring children to lessons. But once they start coming, and when they see the benefits of children learning music, it's just amazing. And not to forget, we at the school, we have 2 recitals a year. One is during Christmas time, one is during springtime. And this brings their confidence, builds their confidence, and makes them really kind of, you can see the development in their character as they go. And at the beginning is scary, and some of them can hardly go to the piano and play something. And after a couple of recitals or so, you can see them, open and they confidently sit down and play the piece without any issues. And that's great for the children. That helps in public speaking. That helps in, achieving results at school and other areas.
I'd be remiss to not ask you about the Huronia Symphony Orchestra that you're involved with. Have you ever had any students that maybe have kind of played up to that kind of level?
Yes. I had some students, and also I had students that, and actually my wife and then both we kind of trained some students that end up studying musical theater. and they are on the stages around. Some are on cruise ships, some are teaching, some are working in the theaters in Toronto. So we had some students that after those lessons continued professionally with their musical career.
Oliver, before we go, just one more time, where can people find you and the Maestro Music Center?
So Maestro Music Center is located on Little and Young in Barrie, in a plaza. And our website is maestromusiccenter.com. And people can go on that website. It's very easy to navigate through the website. There are a lot of information about everything. Also, there is a registration form they can easily fill in and send, or they can call the number that is on that website. We would be very happy to help them find a slot for them and start the lessons.
Oliver, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you very much. And thank you for this interview.
This is what Barrie's talking about. From Barrie 360, I'm Dan Blakeley, heading south of Barrie now to some town called Bradford, West Gwillimbury, joined by Mayor James Leduc. Thanks for dropping by.
Good morning, Dan, and thank you for having me.
We are here to talk today about a special event you have coming up, and it's a parade, but not your everyday common garden type parade.
Not a typical parade. It's a water-based parade. It's called a flotilla, so we're very excited about it. It's the 100th anniversary of the Holland Marsh, and we've decided to do a nice flotilla parade to end our celebrations for the year in 2025.
Have you ever done a flotilla parade before?
No, this was an idea so I set up a committee at the beginning of the year, a bunch of local members and some council members. The chair is Councillor Peter Ferragini. I sit on a committee with another councillor, Ben Verkijk, and we brought in some members from our community, the History Society, and other members. Ian Craig was the one that came, and he runs the Marsh Mash for us yearly. We did our 46th year of the Marsh Mash in Bradford, and he brought the idea of the flotilla. He said, would you think of doing a flotilla? And I said, wow, that's interesting. And so we reviewed it. We talked to staff, and we looked at all the legal issues that could come up, and we went ahead with it. We're going ahead with it, and it's going to be on September 28th at the Portuguese Culture Center. We're leaving from there at 11 o'clock in the morning. We're doing some speeches, but yeah, that's how it started, and it's a great idea, and we're so excited about it because, like I say, I've never done it. We're quite excited to see what's going to happen. We're hoping to see a lot of residents get involved.
I was going to say, you're looking for community involvement from this.
Absolutely. We're looking for community involvement. So I go out kayaking myself on the marsh. I love it. I've got a couple of kayaks. My significant partner and myself go out and we kayak every once in a while. So we enjoy it. And when he brought that idea up, I thought, boy, this is great. Go on the canal. People should see that. It's beautiful on the canal. Get in your canoe, kayak, and enjoy the day. So this is an idea that that Ian promoted, and we're 100% behind it. We're looking forward to it. Like I say, it starts at the Portuguese Culture Center. So everybody should know where that location is. It's on Simcoe Road, right at the canal, right at Canal Road. So it's right there. And we're going to start and leave there, and we're going to go west on the canal towards the bridge, the Highway 11 bridge. There is a new branch that we took off called Morris Drain, and we're going up the Morris Drain, and there's a turnaround point there. We'll have a little celebration. Along the way, we'll have a bunch of banners that people can read the history of the marsh, and we'll just have a great time, and we're hoping to get at least 60 to 100 paddlers out there. We've invited some clubs. We've got a club from Barrie. We've got the North Canoe Club from Muskoka. They're hopefully coming with a 6 to 8 man big canoe. We're also looking at the Barrie Club has a war canoe, and it holds many more. So this was the trading route for Indigenous people. So we're hoping to have them come down and enjoy that with us. We've also offered Donna Big Canoe from the Chippewa Georgina Island to come and enjoy that day with us. So
you're looking back at the history of Bradford. You're going back 100 years. I think you've positioned this as a once in a century kind of thing.
It is. It's a once-in-a-century thing. The canal was started. The actual shovel for the canals went in the ground on September 25, 1925. So we picked the date as close as we could to that original date, and it's just celebrating the 100th anniversary of the canal. The marsh is a marvel. It's an engineering marvel. It was done by William H. Day it started actually in 1909 with another gentleman, Watson from Bradford. He asked William H. Day if he thought this would farmland, and there's a great history to it, and that's why we've designed this book. We've put a book together to read the history of the marsh. It's called the Salad Bowl of Canada. It's a great partnership in GDP. It's big GDP for the province of Ontario. We do 140 million, I think, in carrots and 160 million in onions. and 140 million, I guess, in other vegetables that are grown there. So there's 60 different varieties grown in the marsh. So it's a very, very unique drainage system that was designed, and it's great to come out and paddle that and see some of the unique stuff about the marsh itself.
A lot of people know things are grown in the marsh. We drive by it on the 400. We drive by things as we go through Bradford to somewhere else, but we never really stop to think about how much is coming from there.
Yeah, I see so many people. I talk to so many people, and I always say, do you know where Bradford is? And they say, well, I'm not sure. I said, do you know where the marsh is? Oh, yes. And they say that. I said, that's where Bradford is. That's the start of Bradford. So 40% of the marsh is in Bradford, 60% of the marsh is in King. So we've got a joint membership there with a drainage board. But the different variety of vegetables out of there are unique. I mean, we talk about carrots and onions being the biggest drivers out of there, but there's also celery, lettuce, and radishes, all sorts of root-based vegetables come out of there, like 60 different varieties, and some specialized. We have a lot of Asian farmers in there that are specializing in the Asian market.
Really?
Yes, wow. A lot of them are in there. So it's a very wide variety of vegetables. Like I say, 60 different kinds of vegetables out of there. So it's a unique, interesting place, and it was designed, and actually when they did that, the canals in 1905, they started them. The Canadian farmers went in there and they couldn't actually produce any vegetables. They were struggling with it. So it was the government of Ontario that decided to bring in Dutch farmers because they knew how to use this soil, this very marshy muck soil. So they brought them in and they gave them a start. They gave them a plot and they gave them $600 to start up, and they started carrots and onions in there and made this a very prosperous area. So that's why it's called the Holland Marsh. It's a Dutch-based community, so it's interesting.
Back to the flotilla, you're looking for a lot of participation. Are you looking for people to decorate whatever they're floating by in?
We're really hoping that they do decorate. They come up with some joyous opportunities to decorate your canoe, decorate your kayak. Just come and enjoy it, actually. We're going to give away T-shirts to anybody that comes. We're going to put T-shirts, 100th anniversary T-shirts. We're going to do a great big photo in the marsh drainage area. So, yeah, we're hoping that families come out, enjoy the day. We're going to have some dignitaries there. We've invited our MPP, Caroline Mulrooney, our MP, Scott Davidson. We've invited other ministers, McCarthy and other ministers, to come and enjoy the day with us. The Premier has said he's busy that day, so he won't be there. And we also invited the Lieutenant Governor, Edith Dumont, to come with us, but she's unable to attend. But there's going to be lots of people there, lots of celebration. We're going to have lots of history, available foods and things like that to enjoy the day. So,
if people are interested, they want to get involved, how do they do that, and when do they have to do that by?
So the registration just opened August 25th. You can go to our website at the townofbwg.com, front page, click on the flotilla, and you can register there. Registration is open about a week before the event. We'll close the registration, but we're open. If we'd say we want you to register to come. It's better that we know who's coming, but if you come the last day, that's fine. We're not going to stop
somebody
anybody.
Shows up day of and tosses their canoe in there, you're not going to turn them away.
We're not going to turn them away. Come and have fun with us. Come and enjoy. I want to see this big parade going down our canal. I want everybody to show those. We're going to have flags for everybody. We're going to have all sorts of things to help decorate your canoes. But we want everybody to come and enjoy. Just come and enjoy with us and show the pride of the marsh.
And are there lots of vantage points for people who don't have a canoe but want to see this flotilla?
Yes, really at the Morris Drain, it's called Marsh View. There's an area where you can park your car and you can watch us from there. And there'll be other vantage points to see us. But there is places along that route that they'll be able to stand and see us and cheer us on.
All right.
And I hope people come out and cheer us on.
End of September, the 25th?
25th of September.
And
we leave at 11. We start at noon. We start to canoe up, but we'll have some dignitaries speaking at 11.
And the website again to get signed up?
Is www.townofbwg.com.
Mayor Leduc, thanks for dropping by.
Thank you, Dan, for having me.
And one last piece of business for this week, some feedback regarding last week's program with the mayor, Busby Center, and police weighing in on the homeless situation in Barrie. Barrie resident Rolly Ramey liked some of what he heard, but wishes he had heard more. He reached out, we reached back, and had him come in to convey his thoughts.
Last week, I tuned into what Barrie's talking about with Mayor Alex Nuttall, Busby's Executive Director Sarah Peddle, and a Barrie Police representative. It offered useful insights into our downtown challenges and the growing unhoused population. It is important to recognize that the County of Simcoe is the lead funder for homelessness services. But the City of Barrie also plays a vital role in how solutions are implemented locally. That's why I was struck by some comments that seemed to place the blame almost entirely on the county. While the county must be accountable, the city also has been slow to act, despite the visible growth of homelessness over many years. On affordability, I applaud the city's recent development charge initiative, but it could have gone further sooner, updating zoning bylaws, streamlining approvals, using public lands, offering developer incentives, and protecting existing rentals are all tools Barrie could have used more effectively. Shelter permitting delays are another concern. The Blake Street units, which were previously in use elsewhere in Barrie, took until August to receive occupancy approvals. In a homeless crisis, such delays are difficult to justify. I was also puzzled by Busby's rejection of a formal offer from community members prepared to retire its $4 million mortgage and raise another $10 million for a purpose-built shelter. With nearly 20 years in the field, Sarah Petal is right that we need more inventory and more dignified space. But this decision raises real questions. Police, meanwhile, face the difficult balance between public safety and compassion. The move it along approach is imperfect, but it still has value and should remain one of the tools available. The bottom line is this: solving homelessness in Barrie requires honesty, accountability, and bold action from every level: federal, provincial, county, and city. Deflecting blame helps no one, least of all the most vulnerable neighbors.
You too can comment on our program anytime by emailing your thoughts to newsroom@barrie360.com. And that's our program for this week. Thanks to Ian and Julius for their input, to Matt Latter for his technical expertise, and to you for listening. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe to What Barrie's Talking About, rate it, review it. You can also keep up with What Barrie's Talking About on Blue Sky and X at Barrie360, on our website, Barrie360.com, and there's our daily Kickstart podcast, available from any streaming service and on our website. I'm Dan Blakeley. Hope you'll join us again next week.